Today, we are picking 3 of our favorite albums with 3 of my good best friends, especially you, Kiefer.
The goodest and bestest.
Amen. Hey guys, my name is Scott Bowling. Today we're doing my favorite thing, Pick 3 episode. But today I have my friends. We have Mr. Eric Spieth, Mr. Kiefer, Rich Wilson. Oh yes. We got some Lakeview dads. We got Kiefer, who I work with. Sales department, baby.
That's right.
Boom.
That's what I do.
Just dropping it. Yes. Today we're gonna do Pick 3 of our favorite albums, random, which is becoming the thing to do. I'm like, what do you guys want to do 70s, 80s? But just random's more fun. And this list is completely random. So first of all, I want to say this. Lakeview, my son loves Lakeview, I guess. And he drew this Lakeview sign. So I had to give my son Knox props. He said, for Lakeview dads.
Lakeview dads.
Yes. What'd you call it? I was like, this is the only hat that would fit me. So
You gotta put it on. It's the Pope hat. You're the Pope of Lakeview.
even this won't fit. So why'd you bring that up for? But no, seriously, having Lakeview dads that don't talk about sports 24/7, which is awesome. Nothing against sports. I love sports. I love UFC and baseball.
Like
it's cool. It's
like
cool to see live, right?
Sports ball.
He
Right?
loves the sports ball.
He does.
Yes. Yeah. And what's the golf thing?
The PGA?
Yes, the PGA. That's cool too. Yeah, you play golf, man.
Yeah, a
You
little bit.
sports. But what I'm trying to say is Lakeview dads are into like music, which is cool. And Kiefer, you know. Anyway, so we're gonna do
I'll
first.
just pretend I'm an honorary Lakeview dad today.
That's cool. So we're gonna do Pick 3 episodes.
Thank
Welcome
you.
to the club. Yeah.
I got so much to do. I got props, vinyl. I'm overwhelming you guys. I'm gonna do the first one here because it's brand new for me. It's not brand new music. It came out in the 70s. Talking Heads. Any Talking Head fans? Talking Heads. Yes. Everybody asks Talking Heads. They say stop making sense. They always do, which is an amazing album too. So for this one, I was listening to Mark Maron. He's got a podcast. He's an actor. He's in Almost Famous. And a lot of other stuff too. Amazing interview. I rank him with like Joe Rogan. But when he was interviewing somebody one day and I was working and he casually mentioned Talking Heads and he said, all I listen to now is Fear of Music. He goes, that album gets me through the day. I just listen to it every day. It never gets old. And I was kind of bored at work. I was like, I'm gonna listen to Fear of Music on good old Spotify. And I played it and I was like, wow, this is so good. I don't know if you guys, Fear of Music, a lot of the songs are on Stop Making Sense. So a lot of people go, I don't know Fear of Music, but when they listen to Talking Heads live album, they go, oh, okay, well, like Heaven, all these songs are on this album.
What's great about the Talking Heads?
Yes, tell me.
They
Sorry,
they continue to get better over time. That's
Right.
my opinion, right? So they climbed to where they did, but fundamentally their music changed and evolved, and they got tighter, they got better as a band.
Yeah, man.
All throughout the early and mid '80s, it was pretty amazing.
Can I see the album?
Yes, you can.
You like the texture, don't you?
Yeah,
I was
feel
looking at a reminder for what songs are on this album.
That's why I brought that out there. So I want to talk about that. So this album is like a paranoid kind of like eclectic. That's what you said earlier. It's kind of a paranoid album though when I listen to it. I mean, these like you listen to it, it's like cities. Got to find a city to live in. You talk about paper. Don't hold on to that paper. I think of money. It's like this is paranoid. Air will hurt you
exactly.
too. Yeah, it's just this. And then my memories can't wait. I got to change your mind. When I'm going through things in life, I cling on to music because it kind of soothes me, kind of gets me like going. I don't know. It definitely helps. I don't know about you guys. You kind of find an album, you're like, oh, I can relate to that. My wife, I love playlists, and my wife does a lot of playlists, but they're so random. So every time we get into her car, it's like random. But I love albums. Because it's like whatever you're going through, you can just pour your heart out. Like, yeah, I don't know. I just get sucked in. And this is a great album to just dive into. And the song that got me is what Mark Maron said there's a party going on. This is the song right here. This is what got me. There's a party in my mind and it never stops. There's a party up there all the time. till they drop. And I was like, there's a party in my mind. I don't know why, I just love that lyric. But anyway.
Till they drop.
Till they drop.
There's a lot of things, there's like many people in his head until they stop partying. I mean, it's got a feel to it right
this
there.
Album
you know,
is,
when you think about,
yeah.
I mean, they are, you know, when I was growing up in that time period, obviously, you know, there was a lot of weirdness, you know, a lot of the crazy videos, and videos were very relevant to that. And I feel like Talking Heads really took advantage of that, right? Because they were a very artsy, and not in a negative way, but they were a very artsy group, right?
And they survived.
And so there was
like you said, they get better and better. Like,
and just watching at that time, like they had, like there was a fear factor that kind of went with like some groups that were like out there, you know, like Devo.
Yeah,
you know, kind of thing where you're like,
that,
what is going on? You did the same thing with David Byrne in this group, you know, kind of thing where you're like, what are they doing? Yeah, everybody else had like the crazy hair and everything like that, right? Exactly, Flock of Seagulls. But you know, you would watch their videos and you'd be like, what is going on? There's it was a lot deeper and a lot weirder than you thought it was going to be, and it was, so. But it was funny because when he did. Start getting into this, he was texting me and he was like,
"Yeah, I was.
Have you ever heard of this before?" You know, and I was like, "Talking Head, is this a new kind of thing or whatever?" I was like, "Dude, he was like really digging into something that's like late '70s."
Yeah, it's deep cut.
And you're
it's
like,
a deep
you're
cut
like, and
record.
I'm listening to it all the time now.
Yeah, dude, are you for real? Yeah,
no,
man.
you were saying
oh,
that.
Okay,
You're like, I'm listening
yes.
to it all the time now.
Yes,
like,
dude. Yeah, I love albums like that suck you in, and it's a concept, I guess, of I just get paranoia of this album. It's just very intense record.
There's something with David Byrne too, because I was at Shaky Knees Festival, which is a festival in Atlanta, a couple years ago, and David Byrne was not the headliner. I think Jack White was that night, but I didn't know much about what he'd been up to lately. So I was like, what? And earlier that night, or during the day, it was a hot day, Atlanta, 90s plus degrees, something like that. I was really excited to see Franz Ferdinand play. Mm-hmm. And they get up and they were just like complaining about how hot it was. And they're, you know, it's like, okay, these are guys who are probably my age, 40s, whatever.
Right.
It was a disappointing show. David Byrne gets up there, his 60-year-old ass, or however old he is, freaking rocked the entire thing. I don't know if you've seen like a David Byrne show lately, but it's nuts. Like he comes out there, it's very Paul Simon-ish in some ways, lots of these musicians, lots of percussionists coming out. At one point they're doing this crazy jam and all of a sudden they stop playing and pantomime playing as if, but it's completely silent, and jump back into the song again. And these are super creative things this guy's coming up with in an age where most people are just like watching golf.
Right.
You know? So
that's old episodes of Matlock.
Right. And those are good though.
Dude, yeah, I was thinking.
You're right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to besmirch.
Today I overdid it though with you guys. You guys were doing hold the album up or the props. I'm like, I don't know. It's better to have more than less. I don't know.
Change it up.
So look, here it is right here. I'm just gonna talk about it. Yeah, Fear of Music. But you don't feel this.
You don't feel the texture, though.
The texture.
That metal, great, you know, like the step on a truck kind of thing or whatever.
Right.
Anyway, I encourage everybody to check out this album if you haven't. It's so good. So next we have.
If you're making up for something small, I guess you can always throw the big one out.
There you go. Yeah. That's good. Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Put on the hat.
I tried to put on that. That didn't even work. All right, so next we got Eric.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
So my first
Eric Spit.
my first album is Chuck Berry. It's Berry is on Top. And you know, Chuck Berry, what's I guess interesting, maybe not so interesting, because he, like many artists back in the 50s, had a lot of singles. And so from 55 to 59, he released a whole bunch of singles, but not really an album per se. And so, you know, I grew up with Chuck Berry. You know, he was always around, sort of ever present, if you will, in the mixes that, you know, my parents had on or whatever the case was. And so I just felt like I needed to pay some homage to him. So
yeah, that's cool. And I was looking at the album, and there's so many songs that like Run, Rudolph, Run. I'm like, holy crap, dude. And you're talking about releases singles like that. That's what people do now, but he was doing it before, you know, back in the day, man.
Yeah.
But that's his official first album, though?
It's not really an album. It's just like a greatest hits from
greatest
55
hits.
to 59.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So your parents had that on like in the house all the time, or roughly?
Well, he was always in a mix, right? And so, you know, my dad was a big music listener and somewhat of a player also. And he had those, you know, those old school rotational CD chambers, whatever they are, things that came out with it. The giant carousels. Yeah. And so he had one of those, and like Chuck was always in the mix somewhere in that. And so yeah, I grew up on Chuck Berry, and he's like one of rock's original bad boys.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And I think to some extent influenced the way that I perceived music, growing up. So.
And you play guitar, right? So were you inspired to pick up a guitar because of this?
Definitely. So like the story is, when I was 5 or 6, I was kind of like made to take piano lessons, right? Most kids are to some extent. So, I did that for like 5 or 6 years, and then I got my instrument of choice, which is guitar. And one of the first licks that I learned was Johnny Be Good.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Did you take lessons or did you teach yourself?
I taught myself for the most part.
Yeah, most people do, it seems like.
Yeah.
I took lessons and I didn't.
Harmony Central.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like back in the day. Tablature was actually on a website. I used web crawler, not Google. So it's back in 95, 96 probably.
Yeah, man, you blew me away when you said Chuck Berry. I was like, wow, I was not expecting you to pick that. That's cool.
Yeah.
You got a favorite on there?
I don't know. I guess like Roll Over Beethoven.
Okay.
Look at this album cover, y'all. That's such a crazy. I mean, I wonder if he picked that out or.
Or if
is it avocado?
It kind of looks like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's guacamole. It's good.
Yeah, man, that's an excellent choice though. When you said that, I was like, that's awesome.
Thanks,
Chuck Berry. I love that reference in Back to the Future. He's like,
I was gonna. Yeah.
what he
This
say?
is your cousin, Marvin Berry.
Yeah. Listen to this. All right, cool, man.
Thanks.
Kiefer's next.
All right.
What you got?
I'm going to get right to it. So, David Lee Roth. So,
That's
Diamond
it.
Dave, DLR. This guy is legend, right?
Yes.
So, growing up in the 80s, 1984 was kind of a watershed moment for, just bombastic, rock and roll at that time, right? And it was easily their most like commercial, driven kind of thing, like when they put out Jump as a video, like they told you about it like weeks ahead of time, right? It was like, oh my gosh, Dave's gonna put on a lot of fringe and lycra and he's gonna jump.
He's
and,
nutty.
and we're like,
yeah, dude.
right? And so you get that, you get Panama, you get Drop Dead Legs, Hot for Teacher, you had all these fantastic things going on, right? And then they tour together, they split, and you're just like, you felt like your heart got like pumped, it was like boom, 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 I was like, everybody was upset by this, right? Yeah. It's like, what do you do? Like when a band that is so on top all of a sudden decides to have, the great divorce, and you're like, well, what do I do now? Right? And so what does Dave do? Dave puts out an EP, called Crazy from the Heat back in 1985. And it just had like 4 or 5 songs on it, right? And like some of them were just like covers, like singers and standards.
It's
kind
like
of
it's
thing,
rushed.
right? Yeah, it's just like, I'm just
yeah.
putting some out there. I'm going to do California Girls, Just a Gigolo, just Dave having fun, right? Mm-hmm. And so, it was fun. And then he puts this out. And he gets Steve Vai to come along with him, right?
Billy Sheehan?
And he's like, I want to do what I wanted to do with Van Halen, but Van Halen didn't want to go that way anymore, right? There was a lot more keyboards and things like that. They had different ideas about where they wanted to go musical direction-wise, and Dave was like, I want to keep doing what I'm doing. And I wanted Dave to keep on doing what he was doing. And so, basically, this is, I remember being a kid and just being like, Dave, this is perfect for him. Eat him and smile, I mean, this is Dave. He's so out there and so wild, and I love that guy. And so for me at that time period, I was like, I didn't want that party to stop. I wanted it to keep on going. Sammy Hagar was like, let's talk about dreams and could this be love? And I was like, Dave was taking whiskey to a party tonight and looking for somebody to squeeze, And
How old were you when this was around then?
Let's see, I was 8 when it was 80, so 86, I was 14.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was like in the rush of that, of being like, I want to keep partying with Dave.
You can't drive yet, so
right.
there's music. That's it.
Exactly. It's exactly what it was. That was the adrenaline. That was the rush, kind of thing, is having music like this to where you're like, oh, God, that's what I'm talking about, right?
That's awesome, man. And he had like the best band members too, man. Like you're saying, Steve Vai and Billy Sheehan's like one of the best bass players in the world.
And at that time, like Steve Vai, you were like, man, what a badass that guy was, right? I mean, he was. Okay, so I don't know how many of you would ever know the movie Crossroads, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Wow, fantastic. All right, so not really a super movie, but once again, at a certain age, you're like, oh my gosh.
It wasn't as good as This Is Spinal Tap, but
Right. Well, exactly. Well, especially when you're like, I'm going to throw Ralph Macchio in.
Ralph Macchio
it's this,
in, playing guitar.
Believable blues player kind of thing, and you're like, But they had, like, at the end, of course, no spoiler alert, even though this was, like, obviously 40 years ago, you've got it to where the devil is, like, betting him his soul or whatever kind of thing, and Ralph Macchio's got to go up against Steve Vai, and, like, Steve Vai is the devil's guitarist, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, this is good. It was called a head cutting contest, and I was like, okay, that is amazing, right? And of course, Ralph Macchio wins, which tells you movie is obviously made up. But anyway, just having that kind of what's that?
The actual devil?
Yeah, with devil.
Oh, I thought it was a documentary.
No, I'm sorry. Sorry to let you down. We'll discuss this later. I'm sorry. I
appreciate that.
But anyway, but that was just, I was like, with that kind of like
funny.
machine gun behind Dave,
man.
like he was unstoppable for that. And so just as we approach July 4th, go back, listen to this, Yankee Rose. Like, you're talking about Statue of Liberty. This is about America. So just making her though as some hot girl, and he's personified this thing, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, because Dave can do that,
It's very relevant. A lot of people are trying to screw America these days.
right? So just think of that.
Just need a little more Yankee Rose. Okay, did you have older siblings or younger?
Yeah, I got a 5-year older sister.
It's like my brother's 5 years older.
Yep.
Did you say brother? 5-year-old?
No, sister. So,
Was she
but
listening?
she was a lot of musical influence.
What was she listening to? Was she listening to this too?
Let's see. By that time, she had probably, if I was 14, she was already in college by that time. So, but she
She was hitting up Debbie Gibson.
What's that?
Debbie Gibson, maybe?
No. She was like, she got me into like, okay, so Van Halen, real quick moment on that one. So before we move on, but like she actually, so when I was turning, I don't know, 6 or something like that, or 5, you'd have to check the clock on this one. But basically, we were living in San Antonio, Texas, and they had a call-in or whatever to KONO radio station back then or whatever, and you could win Van Halen 2, the album at that time. And so it was my birthday. My sister called in pretending to be me, right? And so, so she puts on this like, pretending to be me and being like, it's my birthday, and blah, 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 right, kind of thing. She ends up winning Van Halen 2 album and some like T-shirt for the radio station that was like, a combo of KONO and Dr. Knee-High or whatever. And I was like, awesome, you got me an album. And she goes, no, I got me the album. You're getting the T-shirt. And I was like, but I did end up with that album.
That's cool.
So,
That's a good story, man.
There you go.
I think you picked the right choice though, because I remember I was still mad about the Sammy Hagar choice.
Right?
I still am, because it's like
I still am.
I'm still mad about it.
A little better.
It's such a poor choice. It's like if you're going to replace lead singer, don't do something that's kind of like him. Like go a totally different direction.
Well, the record company was wanting to change the name of Van Halen. Remember that?
They should have.
They were called Van Hagar. Yeah, that was a true thing. They really wanted.
Yeah.
But
Do you know who some of the options were to do that at the time?
I know.
I'll give you a couple of them, and you're going to be a
little.
little weirded out. So, Patti Smythe was somebody that Eddie Van Halen was going after to take. Oh, yeah, I know, right? To take the space. Here's another one. Daryl Hall was being courted.
Oh God, that's weird.
Yeah, and it got like validated or whatever on one of those, Daryl's houses or whatever kind of thing. They validated that was a real possible option at that time.
That would have been a lot more entertaining.
That's funny you brought that up.
Yeah.
That's kind of the reason when I started the show was because of Daryl Hall's show.
What
was it called? Yeah,
Daryl's house. Right?
Daryl's house.
Something like that. Yeah.
So they would interview and jam, and that's really where I got this idea to do that. Man, that's funny you brought that up. I love Sammy, but I'm the oddball out. But of course, I was only 7 years old. You can't judge me.
Right.
Like, this is love. This is cool.
Right.
And my brother liked it too, man. You can judge him on that.
I liked Sammy, kind of
outside of
Sammy
that
can
band,
sing, So I liked
clearly he was up and coming, right?
Right.
Like he was coming into his own.
Well, he had Montrose. He had the solo stuff.
Yeah.
I Can't Drive 55.
Yeah. So he was like the hot new artist, I think, and I don't know if that's explicitly the reason that they chose him, but.
Anyway,
I feel like vocally, he may have been technically better, but he didn't have the personality. It's like they just went with a kind of an also ran choice. It was just like, Ricochet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Ricochet for me. Sure. Right on.
Yeah. And what do you got?
So, admittedly, this is not their best album. I chose this because it influenced me greatly. The Guns N' Roses, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2.
Okay, can I have a bone to pick? When you said this, I was like, is that right? Because there's 2 albums, man.
It was released at the same time.
Yeah,
so,
you see, you got that, man.
There's that.
Because it looks like 2 records to me. But
It does currently, but the CD was in one nice jewel case. Remember the CD?
Oh, it was.
Double
You're
jewel
right.
Case. Those were cool.
And everybody broke it.
Dude, everyone, yes, they
Everybody
all
broke that one.
That one
Yep.
especially. I mean, it felt substantial.
Yeah.
So I picked this because, after Appetite, which is clearly a more superior album.
Yeah, man.
I was the prepubescent kid whose testosterone's coming through. Appetite was like, wow, this is amazing. I love this. Lies was a big disappointment. I'm like, I wanted heavier, harder stuff,
that was a
right?
weird
And so
record.
then all of a sudden you hear Terminator 2 soundtrack, the teaser, those drums hitting for You Could Be Mine, right?
That blew me away when I was a kid. I was in love, dude.
I was like, this is going to be a great album. This is gonna,
Yeah,
and the hype around that all of a sudden got everyone at school talking about this release. And the reason I picked this was because it kickstarted music as serious debate for me, right? All of a sudden, like people who didn't, they were the Motley Crue crowd or the Metallica crowd or just the pop crowd, like everyone was picking, which one do you like better, the blue one or the yellow one? And there were like hardcore debates happening in the lunchroom over which of these albums were better. And the truth is, there's probably only enough good songs to make an EP out of this whole thing. But like I was saying before, it sounds like they were just trying to create a faster version of Mr. Brownstone over and over and over again for a lot of these. But there are great ones. It's like, we were talking before, Civil War is a great song. It's an amazing song. Knocking on Heaven's Door is overplayed, but you can't deny it's a great song.
Don't Cry.
Alice
Don't Cry
Cooper
is
was
great.
on there too, man.
What's that?
Alice Cooper was on there, and they don't credit him on the back. He was in the Garden, I believe.
Interesting.
So if you open the inserts, you'll see a picture of him with the band.
Let's see.
Which I found that out later on.
This is so cool that you got this.
But just the amount of production that was associated with Don't Cry,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yes, dude.
And they talk about it as though Axl at that point he was full Madonna status. There was no pre about it. But
there's your dude right there. There's Alice.
Boom.
There's
Yep,
Alice
you're
Cooper.
right.
Boom.
Look at you
See?
go.
What's up?
Nice.
And he was
like
adding
it's like you're on a
dolphins to the
music
video,
YouTube show or something.
which is like way overboard from the first welcome to the jungle.
It's
Add dolphins.
this whole thing for me was I remember listening to it just on repeat over and over and over again, getting ready for the debates the next day. Just getting ready to have a
prepping
conversation
yourself?
about it. Yeah, I want to be prepared.
Right.
I want to be prepared.
you had
for
to
this.
watch your MTV and
Watch the
going on.
MTV, all that. And it's like, well, I can talk about this. It's like, let's all agree that Get in the Ring is a really shitty song. It's like,
Yes,
it's a really
but Get in the
horrible
Ring,
song.
he calls out all the people like certain guys in the record industry that.
Bob Guccione.
Yes, he's like, That's funny
it-
he said that.
But what the lasting impact it had on me though was it made me realize that I didn't necessarily want debate to be right. I liked the debate. I liked it when someone else brought a perspective that I wasn't aware of. So I wasn't just trying to win. And so ever since then, that's even at work now. It's like I have this I want to hear everyone's opinion because it's going to make this whatever I'm thinking different.
But
right?
you
And
also
so
wanted to have a value. You wanted
Exactly.
to educate yourself enough to be able to add value into the conversation.
I definitely
about it.
wanted to add something. I want someone else to be impressed with what I had to say
Right,
too. Right?
yeah, absolutely.
But-
you want
but-
somebody over there going like,
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great point. But yeah, so like for me, that was the beginning of kind of a ongoing. Like I even today, I have a Telegram group I'm in with my friends, and we were required to add a song every week that's new that we've never heard before. And it's like, when we talk about it, we debate on it, we chat about it, and so that's kept on going, and it started here.
That's awesome.
I want to be a part of that group.
Right?
That's cool.
I just
Yeah.
like the fact that, think about like most, a lot of your friendships that
Yeah.
you had over time and how tight it was about the music you discussed. Sure. Because
Oh,
there
yes.
was like, probably a good 10 years of my life where that was, like you said, it wasn't sports. It was, we were talking music most of the time,
Yes.
and if you were going to parties, there would be times when people would like shut down, like you would leave a part of the party to go to another room to play music
Yes.
with just a handful of your friends kind of thing, just so you could get out of the noise and get into that noise.
100% true. And once you respect somebody's opinion and they're legit, I get excited about it. Like if I know you or Rich and Eric are gonna tell me you should check out this, I know you'll like it. I get excited. I get pumped. Like, ooh, I'm gonna take this home and dive into it.
You also very quickly realize the folks that they just don't get it, right? And that's okay, right? It's fine. It's like, oh, you're just not listening to this the same way that this other guy and this other guy are, and so you kind of gravitate more to them for music, but this is the person that you like, I don't know, enjoy playing on the playground with or whatever else. What's really nice about that is it really is kind of a filter for other things, because if someone else likes music or likes to talk about music to that degree, you're probably going to get along on these other levels as well.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever have like friends that listen to one genre? So I have friends that listen to heavy stuff, so I only talk to them with heavy. And then I have other friends that listen to Elton John, Billy Joel, so I just talk to them about this. And I feel like I'm that guy that listens to it all, you know, so I can, but it's good. Yeah, anyway, I'm kind of rambling. My second choice is this a little band called Foo Fighters.
Never heard of them.
Yeah. I know, man, me either.
I wore the shoes in your honor of
Oh
your
my
choice
gosh, get
today.
that on camera, dude.
Yeah.
Wow.
Those are like, aren't those sold out, man?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I told Kiefer to walk around the house. He's like, I'm not walking around the house. And now I know what. No, I'm just kidding, dude.
I'm good. Right here.
Dude. I wanted one of those. That's good. So this is, I was a massive Nirvana fan before Foo Fighters, but I was super young. When Foo Fighters came out, I was driving, or starting to drive, trying to drive.
You're old, man.
I know, man. Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. You jerk. Anyway, though, this album, I think it's their best one. Everybody says their second one's their best one. I remember me and my buddy David Lample, we camped, and it had this album and it had Bush, the first Bush album. Yeah. And that's all we have, these two cassettes. So we just listened to it on repeat. So this is ingrained in me. And it's one of those albums I can listen to now, and it doesn't feel so dated. I just love it.
Like every album of theirs feels like that.
Yeah. And this was back in MTV. I'd be so excited to see, this is a call in the Mentos commercial.
The Mentos,
remember those?
yeah, Big Me.
That ages us right there. People are like, what? Yeah.
Futos.
Yes. Yeah. Futo. Yeah, you're right, man.
You remember that?
I don't remember many things, but that's what I got to do.
Every song on here, though, I like, and this is just one of when we had to pick three, I was like, oh, this is
What's your favorite song on that record?
Okay, I will tell you that. My favorite probably is, I would have to go, oh, man. Oh, that's so hard. I don't know. God. I want to say Floaty is a good one. Alone and Easy Target. Good Grief. I don't know, man. You put me on the spot. For All the Cows, that's my favorite.
Oh, yeah?
I'm just kidding, dude. Pat Smear was like, if I had to play For All the Cows every single night, and then he ended up quitting. That's good. I kind of like the songs that aren't as popular. I get, the burned out ones. But you know what? I love This Is a Call, the first one. I just love it. So that's mine. Foo Fighters. You guys love Foo Fighters?
It's funny that when you said the thing about driving, when I was like, oh, he's going to connect. Like Foo Fighters is great driving music.
I almost connected.
Like getting it,
like he's gonna connect.
I was like, oh, he's gonna talk about you.
So driving Foo Fighters, and that's it.
If you can say
I love driving,
listening to Foo Fighters.
If you can say at all that you like rock music, you have to say that you like the Foo Fighters. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
it just kind of goes. It's like un-American. If you don't like the Foo Fighters. Oh man, Rich, you're killing me. What's going on? Okay, well, tell us what your beef is.
Oh yeah. Is there any Foo Fighters album you like? They got a deep catalog, man.
I admittedly haven't gone super deep on them, but I felt like it was that era of when everything Chili Peppers did was over commercialized. Foo Fighters was, I felt like, doing something that was very anti-Nirvana. You know what I mean? It was like, Nirvana was
I'm not wasting money, y'all. I got props. I
feel like you're threatening me with that thing. It's like,
why don't you like this?
It's pointing right at me.
See this game? Yeah.
Hey, I like Foo Fighters. I like Foo Fighters. Okay, they're fine. It's all good. Dave Grohl's the best.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it just, for me, it felt like, I don't know, it was not in the spirit to me of what Nirvana was trying to do. And I think it wasn't. It was Dave Grohl doing a new thing.
Dave Grohl, yeah.
But I couldn't get over that.
But on the flip side, people said, why are you trying to be like Nirvana? Why are you trying to play the same kind of...
Exactly.
Exactly. Dave Grohl said, that's what I do. He goes, do you want me to play reggae music? I don't play reggae music.
Right.
This is the style I play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just didn't click with me.
And he did all the instruments himself, man. And just,
it's one of those things, it's like I tell my daughter, you don't have to like it to respect it.
True, yeah. We can still be friends, Rich.
I don't know. You gotta,
I feel like a lot of air went out of the room.
It's like that's gonna get the most comments. This guy's an idiot. Oh my God.
Yeah, Brian Welch having to take a crap and you saying you don't like Foo Fighters. Same.
Pulls out the worst Guns N' Roses album and he doesn't like Foo Fighters. Don't listen to this guy.
Eric, you like it though. What's your favorite on this, man?
Is Everlong on that? Yeah, Everlong.
No, Everlong's not on that one. That's that's the second one, right? That's the color,
and
shape.
is
Yeah.
it's I mean, I understand why a
But
lot of people
all my
say
friends
that's
say it's
their
their
favorite
favorite.
because it's my favorite.
Yeah, it's
sure,
more mature,
absolutely,
but
'cause,
I'm not more mature. I like the old stuff, dude.
I
haven't
Monkey
matured
Wrench,
yet,
and
too.
it's got Hero.
I like For All
and
the
all that.
Cows,
I mean,
yeah.
so it's a great album.
That's about when I got into the Foos.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, man. What you got next? You got oh yeah.
Yeah.
Either one you want to
bring
do.
another prop.
I'll pick this one.
It's going big.
I'm so glad you did this.
Go big or
This
go
is
home.
this is Tool Lateralis.
Oh, it's upside down.
Wow.
I thought this was a poster too. Yeah,
It's
we're
pretty nuts.
representing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had to throw a Tool album in here somewhere. Tool's just like
Where?
contributed so much to underground rock over the last 20, 30 years. I'm like dating myself at this point, but this is their third studio album, and I really felt like this is where Tool came together. And from a production standpoint, sonically, this album was incredible. It really was when it was released. And it's not that I don't like the first two records that they did. It's just, this one has some additional production to it that I really, really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's great, man. That was their was that their third record? Or
It was,
their
yeah.
third one. Yeah, I
Yep.
was so into the first two Tool albums.
Yeah.
So Opiate was Opiate a full album or was it considered an EP?
No, this is a full album.
That was the
Okay.
one before it was an EP. That was the I can't remember the name of it now. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
But this is a great album.
I almost picked a Tool album as well. I mean, I remember in high school, Opiate got stuck in my tape deck in my car. I couldn't get out. And I was like, I'm cool with it. I just let
it go.
I don't need to listen to
That's
anything
who
else
I am
anyway.
now.
Yeah.
It's everything about their talent. I mean, it's like one of my favorite Tool stories I read was like a Rolling Stone reporter, somebody like that, was going to do an interview with them.
Yeah.
And he's like, I got to use the bathroom. Like, oh, you want to use the bathroom? They're all excited about he's going to use the bathroom. He's going to use the bathroom. What's going on with the bathroom? So he goes into the bathroom. They've got like this big trash
I'll take
can
them.
Oh, thanks.
with all their Grammys stacked in the trash can.
That's wild.
Yeah. but insanely great band. Maynard's voice is just
my
epic.
gosh.
I mean, the way they play together, it's just, Tool is one of the all-time greats for sure.
Yeah. This was like right at the point also where I was coming into adulthood also. It was like the year I graduated high school, I think, that it came out. And so, I think like metaphorically, the band was like coming into their own. I was coming into my own. And so it just clicked at that point.
How did you find out about Tool? Did you just hear them on the radio, or did you have somebody?
I had friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had some friends that were early adopters, if you will, of Tool, and they really got me into it.
How, can you play Tool on guitar, man? Like Adam, like are you inspired by his? I mean, everybody in Tool is so talented.
Yeah. So Adam's tone, I think, is what makes him different. He's sort of like Edge from U2, right? Where Edge, like he's never going to say that he's the world's best guitar player, but sonically, the stuff he does is amazing.
Right.
It really is. It's absolutely incredible. And the same thing with Adam.
Yeah, man. I love their drummer too. Good lord, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Danny.
Danny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Danny's phenomenal.
I love Tool, man. I love it. All right, what you got next? See,
I don't know how many people know them though.
yeah,
So
this flew by my radar.
Replacements out of Minneapolis scene. It was kind of during a time period. This came out in 1987, and like I was talking about, like you had all this stuff going on where like new wave and these kind of things were kind of falling off a little bit there. Hair metal was starting to ramp up a little bit, so you had all this going on. And I didn't really, I had just moved from Fort Walton Beach, Florida to Washington, D.C., like major culture change for me to begin with, right? And I went into an art class because I was all artsy. And so I was going into an art class, and like this is how big of a difference was. Like we go back to Fort Walton Beach now to go see my middle school and stuff like that, and my kids are like, were you in prison? Kind of thing. And like you go to DC and it was like this open concept and everybody was like, it was just higher thinking and higher everything. And so I went into a class that was like, it was like an advertising, like it was like art and advertising was like a class I was taking in 10th grade, right? Mm-hmm. And I went in there and was just dealing with all of these super talented people doing things. And one of the dudes there, I was like, I once again, you talk about music. If you don't know anything else, talk about music. And we're talking about music. And guy made me a mixtape And of all this crap I'd never heard of before, right? And it was just became gold to me at that point. You know, it was like Guardians of the Galaxy where the mom gives the tape kind of thing. Yeah. He's like, I love that tape, right? Yeah. So guy gives me this tape and it had two or three of these songs on there, and I had never heard of them before kind of thing. And I think it was part of the conversation we had about punk, right? So how accessible punk is. Because punk is not something that, you know, it doesn't always take a lot of talent. Sometimes it takes, you know, sometimes, and people show it.
It's not perfection.
Sometimes, right, exactly. It doesn't have to be polished. It doesn't have to be anything. Yeah. These guys were that, right? So, I mean, honestly, like the songs on here, like, you know, I don't know. If you listen to it kind of thing, you know, I don't know, never mind, you know, I owe you nothing. You know, like, so, I mean, it's just, it was a bunch of, I don't care, you know, kind of thing going on when everybody else in the world, like in the music world, seemed to be caring a lot. Not these guys,
that's
right?
so cool.
So they didn't look fancy. If you looked at like earlier pictures of these guys, none of them looked good, right? They were not bringing a lot of like girls to the shows kind of thing, because these guys were rough looking, right? Paul Westerberg, who's a very good lyricist kind of thing, didn't have a very polished voice kind of thing, and like I think it was the accessibility of the fact that these guys could do it, I could do that, you know, or whatever, and he's singing it. I don't have to sound all that cool to sing this guy's stuff, right? And once again, it was a time period where I didn't care. You know, I was in a time period of like, you know, I had just moved and like I wasn't fitting in. I was this like Florida beach boy kind of thing going into like cosmopolitan Washington, D.C. Everybody wore completely different clothes from me, talked different from me. You know, I was like, ooh, you know, kind of thing. So I didn't care, and never mind, and I owe you nothing. I was like totally in line with these people.
That's why I love music, because it can relate to it. It's just something, you don't know anybody, but you can go home and listen to that.
That's cool.
So
I wonder, it's anyway, like, would you have liked that album had you been in a different, like, more positive situation in life?
I don't know. I mean, and you never know, right? Like, that's just how music does with you, because it locks into you. It's a puzzle piece that locks into you at a certain point in your life. Sure. And if you had been living a different life and whatever kind of thing, then it wouldn't have locked into you at that time.
Oh, it's such a good point, dude.
And so the replacements, you know, a couple of funny things, though, you know, to kind of tie into this. So one, that tape that I fell so in love with, this guy had the weirdest handwriting, right? So much so that I emulated that handwriting.
You have it?
Wow.
And I do it to this day. It became my hand. My kids think that's the creepiest thing in the universe. They were like, do you know how stalkerish that is? And I was like, yeah, really cool artsy handwriting kind of thing. So anyway.
I want you to write something.
I was about to say, if you ever see me writing things.
Look at your autograph.
And
we get a whiteboard up in here.
I recognize your handwriting.
Dude, right in the back of my props.
So, but yeah, I'll write something for you a little bit later.
Appreciate it. Write me a note, man.
But it is this guy, Jeff, what's his name? I can't remember his last name, unfortunately, but it's his handwriting.
Do you still follow the band? I mean, do you like that album? Do you like the rest?
So he went on, as all good bands do, especially punk bands, they completely disintegrated in on themselves for the most part. And they were like known for like showing up at, you know, gigs pretty drunk, too drunk to, you know, to work through it. And like even one of them, Tommy Stinson, I think they had two brothers in it, the Stinson brothers, and like Tommy Stinson got kicked out for being too bad. And it's like, we're in a group full of like, you know, complete rejects and losers. For you to get kicked out, you're like
Guns
awesome,
N' Roses,
right? Yeah, exactly, right. So when you get
the
kicked
drummer's
out,
like, you keep up with drugs, you do drugs,
right? Exactly. Are we competing on this? Who's the worst? So anyway, they fell apart. Paul went on to like do some stuff. I think he had like a song on the Singles soundtrack or whatever.
What a
and he
great
put out some
soundtrack,
stuff. And like I said, he's a good lyricist. And if you go over to see some of his stuff, you know, his own solo stuff through the years, it's just him and a guitar and singing some stuff. And it's once again, it's accessible. It's good. You know, it's not amazing. It's not polished. It like has kind of that rawness to like where somebody like gets really drunk and makes a phone call and just leaves a long thing, you know, on a voicemail, and you're like, well, that's the kind of raw he gives on these kind of things a lot of times.
What's your go-to track, man? Like, what's your favorite one on there? Is that too hard?
So there are two things on here that I love, and they're both at the end, right? And honestly, I don't even know that they're greatly representative of it, but there's a song called Skyway. And it is one of those things where it's like the most blue-collar love song in the world. You know, he's living in Minneapolis or Minnesota. Instead of a subway, they have a skyway kind of thing or whatever. And he basically talks about the fact that every day he's going into work, he's sitting in the same place waiting for his ride, and he keeps seeing this, this lovely girl or whatever taking the skyway. And then one day he's up in the skyway and she's down there looking for him in the place where he's usually at. So, and it's one of those, it's not, it's so simple, but you're like, it gets you. And then Can't Hardly Wait, like, is completely like not them because it is the most polished song on there and like has horns, and everything like that. And I think they actually made a movie that we probably all saw at some point because Jennifer Love Hewitt was
Can't
in
Hardly
it.
Wait.
Okay. Thank you. And it was named after that. And
No
I think
way.
that song
That's a great
rolls in
movie.
the credits at the end. So, but yeah,
I like the
interesting.
60s surf rock.
Right, kind of look to everything on it. So yeah, I love it.
that's
So they had like, they had, and their album names were like, Forgot to Take Out the Cat, or, it was just Tim.
Take
I
Out
think
the
one of them was just called Tim. It's just like, once again, like, I just don't care. What do we call this album? Tim. Okay.
Like a lot of ska did
Yes.
similar lettering, and like the whole red wine thing. There's like some DNA there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, they got a few horns, that's kind of like just dotted in there. And once again, it seems like completely out of place for how the rest of it is so unproduced and garbagey. And so
We all have kids, but do you ever like tell your kids about it? You're like, listen, you got to check this out.
Okay, so I do. I totally do. So, and my daughter, we used to do our College of Musical Knowledge kind of thing, and our daughter would like fight at it kind of thing or whatever. But my son's, but I will give it to her. You said you like playlists, right? My daughter is like the playlist maker in our family now. And like when
nice.
we go on road trips, because she's almost 17, like, so she's got all this new music and stuff like that. We go on road trips and we listen to her playlists and we're like, God, that's really good. And so when we go to shows, we're usually going to shows of people that she's introduced us to,
Wow.
nowadays.
awesome.
And we're like, oh, wow, that's pretty good. So yeah, but my son is now, as we're talking about, we're talking about percussionists because we were talking about Tool, and then someone you brought up Neil Peart, and so I was talking about Rush with my son this morning, and talking about because he's going into band in middle school. We're starting to try band in middle school, and he wants to do percussion, and so of course I'm the dad talking about Neil Peart, and
he's
talking
amazing.
about like and YYZ and talking
yes.
about Tom
I
Sawyer
love
and talking
that,
about
too.
that, and he's like, cool, and I'm like, it's working.
Yeah.
That is their best song, right? I mean, YYZ.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
dude.
when it comes to showcasing.
So many
the
drummers
percussion
talk about
kind of
learning
thing.
that from start to finish. That YYZ, yeah, that's amazing, dude.
Yeah.
What you got, Rich?
Yeah, what you got, Rich?
All right. So this one,
Use Your Illusion 3?
Now in 3D.
Spaghetti. Yeah, exactly.
don't remember that one. Justice for All.
Oh, I love this album.
Man, it's like this was the time where it's like, okay, I was in 6th grade, I think, when I got exposed to it. After it was a little late coming to this one, but like because I think that album came out first, can't remember the order. But I'm in 6th grade. It's all about Motley Crue. It's all about Guns N' Roses. It's all about Queensryche and these other like kind of like bands that have essentially radio hits. And all of a sudden, what the hell? This song just keeps on going. And they're 11 minutes long. And it's like, how is that happening? And all these amazing things are happening. It's like a psychedelic experience almost the first time you hear something like this. If you're used to just kind of 80s glam rock to that point. And it really just blew my mind. It just blew it wide the hell open. Because I had been on Saturdays or Sundays, maybe Sundays, when I had to like clean my room or something, so randomly I just put on the classical station just because, I don't know, just to do it. Wasn't super into it, it was just kind of background. But I realized that this album reminded me of some of the classical songs, and they had movements, and as we all know, it's very orchestral, as you were saying before. And that made me start paying more attention to the classical when I was listening to that on Sundays, and just noting the differences and the similarities, and like just seeing how, man, adults just don't get it. It's like they really are missing out on something by not appreciating this. It's like, so I really felt like it was something that was for my generation or slightly older, but it was something that was ours, and it was beautiful, and it was unique, and it was truly, truly artistic. So yeah, this was.
And they'd just been through a lot, right? With Cliff.
Oh yeah, Jason Newsted.
Yeah,
that was his first.
That was his first album. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, but they did.
And
Garage
we
Days.
were talking before. He's really overdoing it in this. I mean,
He does
he's-
look a little miffed.
Look, they picked that photo on purpose because they were hazing him probably.
Right,
Like, he
right.
probably had 100 good
Right.
pictures. They picked that one. They're like, yep, that's in the back.
Like
I
this
think-
is the version of their Kiss, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Catman,
Yeah.
Man,
Angry
looks-
Ape,
he looks-
lion.
the cowardly lion.
The Cowardly
Looks like
Lion.
the Cowardly Lion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And poor Kirk never looks tough. He always tries. He just looks like someone stiffed him on a bill. He's a waiter. He's like,
Yeah,
damn
he
it.
did.
I'm not getting
Not
tips.
again.
So yeah, this and like from here it spiraled because it was like this turned into Megadeth, and all of a sudden like realizing Hangar 18
absolutely,
was
yeah.
just a song with a couple words as an excuse to do some guitar solos, right? It's like this was the introduction to metal. This was the introduction to metal. Awesome.
I'm so glad you picked that too, man. How did you notice there was no bass when it first came out? Because when I was a kid, I didn't notice. I was like, this is great.
No.
My brother and I, that was our first.
Because we listened to those
album.
crappy headphones, It's
Yeah.
like
Oh,
There was no bass at that point
no,
anyway.
you,
so,
couldn't,
yeah.
you couldn't hear it. It's like everything we listened to in the car when it was the crappy wire headphones with a little bit of foam on it and just with no bass anyway. It's like I was even thinking on the way over here. It's like some new metal band needs to take all the new metal bass without overdoing it. Add a dose and just cover this album.
They do.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Master
YouTube
it.
has it. It's called Injustice for Jason. Yeah, it's full of bass. The whole album has bass. They added it on there.
I can't wait to hear that.
Go you've heard it. Go on YouTube. And
I gotta
put
check that
Injustice for Jason.
Now, I have to say, I do think Master of Puppets is a better album,
Okay.
but this was the first one I heard. So,
Well,
this was-
that's the first one they had the music video for one.
One.
That video scared the crap out of me.
Johnny got his gun. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so-
So, and they're pulling that wire
I
out
had
of his head, and you're like,
nightmares.
right? Exactly.
He's like, is anybody gonna help me? Man, I had nightmares, dude. I was only 7 when
He's
this
sitting
dude
there
came
like
out,
doing
dude.
the little nodding with the SOS and S, and you're like,
Yes.
You're like, and it was a horror film made into a video
But did
that,
you-
like you said, lasted 11 minutes long,
Yeah.
and everybody was so into it, and it didn't matter who you were at that time. All of a sudden, everybody like respected metal, at that time.
Good point. Johnny got his gun though. It's okay. I mean, the movie was all right. Did you watch it and
No,
be like, this movie's
absolutely not.
amazing? It was like, I
Where
watched it,
did
I was
you
like,
even find it?
dude, I have the VHS copy, bro.
What else favorite song on this
Shortest Straw. I love that song.
album? To me, it's between that one and Freight Ends to Sanity.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too. Man, this album means so much to me, dude. This awesome you picked it. Did we just become best friends?
Yes, again, I think
Yeah.
so.
Foo Fighters.
Yes.
Exactly.
Water under the bridge.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
Can you get over the Foo Fighters thing?
They've healed.
Maybe. We'll talk
Okay.
about it later. But hey, what do you think about the Metallica and Guns N' Roses tour? Because you did the Use Your Illusion and they did the
Yeah,
whole-
it was a weird. What did I hear the other day? They wanted Nirvana to open for that.
Oh wow.
They tried to get
Yeah, I
Nirvana
heard
to
about
open
that.
for that
Excellent.
tour, and he said no, he wouldn't do it. No,
Right.
no. They got Faith No More instead, which would have been.
It was short term. It was short lived.
Yeah.
Faith No More didn't finish it.
They didn't finish it.
No.
I would have
They got
loved to have
kicked off.
seen that show. I would love to. see
Me
that show.
too. Good lord,
Yeah,
man.
that would have been cool.
that's
Because
crazy.
Faith No More was almost one of my 3. Like epic. That
Dude,
first
Faith
album.
No More is one of my
epic.
favorite bands ever.
What's that?
A little bit they were. when you go on to it.
Well, this is true. That's true. There's some. Mike Patton's a heavy representation of my life, so you'll see him later.
Dude,
Yeah.
you know my brother. I think you guys know my brother. You know my brother too.
sure.
I'm going to throw him under the bus.
Do it.
Epic. When we were kids, for some reason, we couldn't figure out the lyrics to it. I'm like, what is he saying? He's like, is it? What is it? That's what
Yeah,
he's saying.
right.
My brother told me, electric, what is it? I'm like, I don't think he's saying electric, what is it? I don't know.
You got the ultimate Trump on your brother. And
I
you-
know,
and you have a
man.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, we're going to cut that,
Tell
dude.
everybody.
yeah. By the way, please remove that.
Yeah, please remove that. man.
I love you, bro.
I love you, bro. But that Faith No More album was so good, dude.
Yeah.
Every song on that album was good. Okay.
What you got, Scott?
So, yeah, I'm
Yes.
sorry. My next
Yes.
one, my last one, White Zombie, who I have the drummer, Ivan, coming on the show in July from
no
the
way.
original
Fantastic.
White Zombie. Yes, sir.
That's amazing.
When you were talking about Gardens of the Galaxy, I want to say Jukebox because that's Rich Ford's thing. Gardens of the Galaxy, the mixtape. And back in the day, we always made mixtapes.
Yes.
You know, you made it for girls that you like. Well, I had it. One of my buddies, Jeff Hitchcock, whose dad is Jerry Hitchcock, who used to own Tritton Systems of Tritton Technology with my dad. Long story short, his son was a few years older than me, and he would make me mixtapes. And he put, Anthrax, Megadeth, and he put, of all songs on this album, he did Black Sunshine. And he did a mix, and it was a mixtape, and I was listening to it, and I didn't know that was Iggy Pop doing the intro to Black Sunshine. And I was like, this is so good. And I saw the album cover, and I was like, holy crap, this looks cool. Saw the video, Thunder Kiss 65, and it was just amazing. And this is before I was into, like, the heavy bands like Korn and Deftones. This was like, for me, this was...
That was heavy.
Kind of groove. It was heavy, yeah.
It was heavy.
Yeah.
And it just, had this kind of groove to it before, like...
It was cool.
Before I discovered Pantera, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pantera has the groove thing. This was just so cool, and I love Rob Zombie, but I love White Zombie probably more.
Yeah.
And this, every song on this album, it's like old school, but it's still so cool to listen to, and I encourage everybody to listen to it who hasn't. Let's try to pronounce this. La Sexorcito.
Sisto.
Dude, I was a kid, and I was like, I'll give up. I just like the album. I don't know what it's called. But yeah, it's amazing, man. Amazing artwork, amazing colors, samples. Remember when bands did samples back in the day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and they'd walk out on stage with samples. This album's full of it. Well, Rob does that anyway, but...
This had the more human than human thing, right?
No, that was the second one.
It's the second
Not
one.
the second one. Another thing. White Zombie, it had albums before this one. Kind of like Pantera. Remember when Pantera before Cowboys from Hell?
Yeah.
They had a bunch of old albums.
Hairband.
Yeah, exactly, Hairband. White Zombie had a bunch of old albums, which I got to look at for Ivan's interview.
That almost made my 3 as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's such a classic album, man. I just...
Didn't you mention that they were coming back around? They were going to tour again or something like that?
So, kind
Put
of.
out something
what they
recently,
did...
didn't he?
Yeah, so Rob Zombie is... Yeah, he's always putting stuff out, but they did that other album, More Human Than Human, that album. What's it called? I guess that's what it's called. Anyway, John 5 was in it, and they played every song from start to finish. They did that recently.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know if he'll... And another thing I love about this is the lineup, like Sean. She's so cool. I wish they'd all get back together and do something. That this lineup is special. You know, Carl, man.
I mean, I love Rob Zombie, but it was not the same.
It wasn't the same, and Rob Zombie says the same. He's like, these are just songs I do, and I'm like, no, it's cooler with White Zombie. It was just like having this chick bass player, having this just tight band, and it was just trippy and different.
You think she was the difference, though? Honestly, because it's like, she brought the groove, right?
Yeah.
She brought the bass and the groove.
But what did they add that was so different? I can't put it in words. Like, this was so different.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't copying people.
No, well,
It's their style.
You're exactly right. So this was point in time, right? And at that point in time, they brought it all together, right? And he probably tried to replicate that again, is my guess.
Yeah.
To some extent, with his own stuff.
Good point. I wonder, like, who were they influenced by, you know? I can't wait to ask him. This guy's going to be on Good Company.
That's awesome.
Ivan.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Excited
I'm
for
going to
that.
ask Ivan.
Right on.
That's all I know. Oh, look at this.
What you got?
This is my third option, White Zombie. What if they just reset the whole thing? Yeah. I'm going to have Ivan on the show. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Anyway, yep. This album doesn't suck.
No,
That's all I got to say about it.
fantastic.
That's what I say about all these. This album doesn't suck.
All right, so
Last one.
my third and final one is the Morris Volta, The Louse in the Comatorium. This album, it packs so much into it. There's just, genres of music within this album that shouldn't ever be put together, but they were able to do it. It's like psychedelic rock mixed with post-hardcore punk, mixed with, I don't even know what else. It's just so dynamic. It really is. And when it came out in 2003, I'd never heard anything like it. And so I was instantly gratified by it and gravitated toward it. I think that, the thing with this record in specific is that it was at a point in time in my life where I was like searching for something more. I wanted something like more sophisticated. I want something more complex. And they gave it for sure.
How'd you hear about it, man? Because I've never even heard about it.
Just a friend, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The vocals really stood out for me. Just like the vocals on that album were just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good. The guitar is amazing. Omar is phenomenal. He produced the album, I think, with Rick Rubin.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, co-produced.
Are they still around? Are they still playing?
I don't know, to be honest with you. there was like something on YouTube that I watched recently. It was like 15 years after or whatever. But I'm not sure if they're still doing it or not. But they had 2 records after this. Didn't get, I don't think, quite to the level of claim that this one did.
I wonder if those 2 albums were with Rick Rubin, or is this like a one-off?
I don't know.
Having Rick do your album.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It was like the touch of gold kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
like,
an investment,
this
too.
is not going to be terrible. Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. They took a little retirement funds or something.
Right,
Let's do this one album with Rick.
Pre-investing. Yeah.
Hey, Rick's gonna lay on the couch, but we're gonna have something good. Yeah.
Have you seen the footage of him working through the bass line with Flea for "Give It Away"?
Yes, it's on that documentary, the black and white documentary.
Yeah.
I saw that.
It's unreal. It's like Flea's like, it's not there, it's not there. Rick's like, nah, dude, who like that? Eventually, it
got it.
becomes one of the greatest bass lines of the '90s.
Yeah.
It's like, and Rick Rubin, I didn't realize he was that hands-on. You know, he was pretty epic.
I love. Yeah,
awesome.
we could do a whole thing about Rick Rubin.
I was about to say,
should
if
do
you
that.
went to go through like his albums,
do
that
the
he,
LL
like,
Cool
had
J,
right?
like Beastie Boys,
yep.
all that stuff. Yeah, and he doesn't play any instruments. It's kind of funny. But like he's teaching somebody about the bass riff, doesn't play bass.
Right.
Like, how do you get that out of somebody?
Right.
I don't know.
Did you ever go and see them live?
No, I've never actually seen them live. No, I just really like the record. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Well, you're asking me what my favorite song. What's your favorite song on that?
Probably Drunken Ship of Lanterns.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check this out, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I had not heard of them
Cool
before
album
either,
cover
so-
too, man. It's trippy.
But I went through like everybody's lists that you guys were talking about and went
Nice.
and hearted all of them on my Spotify so I could go back and listen to them or listen to parts of them. So
That's good.
it's good to have influence, you know. I mean, because like I
Exactly,
said,
dude.
where else do you get them nowadays?
Yes.
You know, and so I feel like because choices are everywhere. You know, it's like omnipresent. When you have too many
Music's very
choices, you
fluid
get
right
like
now.
you're just
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to look at. I don't even know where to start searching.
That's
so.
why you need friends that you listen to. Like when you get like people are like, I know he told me about that Celeste album and I loved it, so I'm gonna listen to him. You know, if you told me this, I'm gonna check it out. It's hard when you have so many people telling you what to listen to, and you listen to their stuff and you're like, it kind of sucks. But
Right.
Yeah.
someone you
hard.
can trust, you're like, yeah, that guy's cool, or someone you look up to.
You got to watch
Like
that
me.
first
Like you.
recommendation.
Obviously, it's just from a height perspective, really. Otherwise,
How do you respect him? He's got.
It is bad though when like someone says you have to listen to this album, and you go listen to the album, you're like, oh, this is dog shit.
Yes.
And then and they come back like, what did you think?
what was your
It's like-
what was your favorite part? And I was like, when it ended.
What do you do?
Oh man.
When did it end? I lie on those all the time. I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah. I can't. I'm like. It's like with the Foo Fighters thing. I'm like,
I guess some people like him.
it's cool.
So Kiefer, you have a record I think that we all synonymously agree is absolutely phenomenal, and I'd really like
Oh
for you to
God, that
talk
was
about
your choice too, man.
Yeah.
You were gonna do
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Keeper, you stole his choice,
No,
man.
no.
I mean,
He's his own.
Everybody,
Yeah, it's cool.
everybody, you know, picked theirs, and you're like, ah, crap, I was gonna pick or something like that or whatever. So, I went for Sublime's 40 Ounce to Freedom. So this came out in 92.
masterpiece.
92, yeah.
It
Great album.
is a masterpiece, and so it goes back to what you were saying when people took different type of genres of music and like play them well, you know, mix them so well that it seems seamless. Seems like you're like, oh my gosh, that, you know, I mean, rock, reggae, and rap really do belong together. Yeah, if it's being handled correctly,
And punk.
right?
Yeah.
And punk, right?
They cover a
So-
Bad Religion song on there, man.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's crazy. So, you know, when you go and you were talking about like where, you know, music where samples were kind of like just kind of scattered through. I mean, once again, it's not overused like a spice, you know. It's like they weren't
Some
heavy-handed
dog
with it.
at the beginning of the song.
Right, just
yeah.
a little bit.
Some
Yeah,
dog,
you
yeah.
get to hear the
Yeah, Beastie
Dalmatian,
Boys.
you know. So
And-
you get to
and
know his Dalmatian.
You didn't have to pay
know-
for it back then either. You remember? Like back in the day, people sampled freely.
Oh,
And
right.
now you
Before,
can
yeah,
get-
exactly. Before I think Bismarcky was the first one who like put out the album, and it was like all samples cleared. You know, it's like if
Paul's
you could,
Boutique had every sample
Every-
ever.
Well, there was Vanilla Ice. There was the case of
Oh
Vanilla
yeah,
Ice.
but no, it's different.
Right? No, we
He's
added
like,
a
it's
note.
different.
We added a note. We
It's
can do
different,
that. Right?
yeah.
So, but like
That's a good point.
just scattering, sampling, and all sorts of stuff. But like this album is just so crazy.
Yeah.
And, you know, once again, I know, you know, my kids are going to want to watch this later, so I'm not promoting the lifestyle
Yeah.
per se, But it was, I think back of a lot of these albums, and part of why you listen to music sometimes was because it was an alternate to what you were, right? You could somehow live vicariously through a group or a person or whatever kind of thing. And it was like, here's a bunch of like skinny white shirtless skater punks, kind of thing out in California, who were just throwing down. Bradley Knowles, he was good. He was so talented. And, when you hear, the music on here and, just talking about the fact that it wasn't, their lifestyle was such that I think you were just kind of saying it before, whatever, easing pain, easing the lifestyle. They weren't rich, they weren't anything like that. This was just kind of what was going on in their life.
Well, they were young too at that point.
Very young.
Yeah, and I don't know. What's interesting to me is you go from this to like Robin the Hood.
Like it went backward a little bit.
Yeah,
You're like, what are you doing?
That's funny.
Somebody introduced Robin the Hood to me, and I was like, oh, is this like the secret
like
first album?
Right.
And
like, no, that was actually them going forward.
That's strange, isn't it?
It was.
It's almost like Nirvana when they put out In Utero, they're like trying to go backwards a little bit. Let's make this a little more not as polished. I don't know.
Yeah, but
the drugs may have had something to do with it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And you're like, oh, did you like just go back and pick out like some, stuff you recorded earlier in your career and just throw it together because you could make money? Maybe, I don't know. But I'm not gonna besmirch him. I'm not here to besmirch him. I'm here to talk about this one. Like, let's talk about We're Only Gonna Die for Our Arrogance.
That's the cover. That's the Bad Religion cover.
And it is just done stunningly in that it starts kicking off or whatever.
Or Scarlet Begonias.
What's that?
Or Scarlet Begonias.
Oh, also a phenomenal cover, kind of thing, and done in such a way. When I hear We're Only Gonna Die for Our Arrogance, talk about a driving song, right? It starts up, and then all of a sudden they turn into Social Distortion for the next part, right?
Exactly.
And then they turn into
thing.
Bad Religion, kind of thing or whatever. It turns into this thrash, and then it was switching gears the whole time. Then it's back down to Social Distortion. Then it's back up, and then all of a sudden they're just just wailing on it, kind of thing, and feedback, and you're like, oh, it's Jane's Addiction suddenly. It was. I don't know how they managed to thread all of these things together so well.
God, good point.
To where you're like, okay, and no offense, I'm sure this is where I'll offend some people because I'm 311. A lot of people love 311, right? And there's reggae and rock in it. It never hit with me, for the way that they did it.
I was thinking the same,
exactly.
dude.
It's like.
Yeah, dude.
What's up? Oh, they're one of my favorite bands. I remember that. So, but it just never hit for me, and this did. And I don't know what was some of the.
It's harder. It's edgier. It's realer. It's definitely, no doubt. As a huge 311 fan, I've seen them many times. From a authenticity standpoint, this blows 311 out of the water.
Oh yeah.
And I had some friends that when I went to college, my first 3 or 4 friends went to Grady High School in Atlanta, and obviously there was a big difference from where I went to high school, right up in D.C. and they were in inner city Atlanta, but there were a bunch of white kids going to Grady, and so they had so much influence on my music during that time, and so and you think about like how much rap was influenced into these kids, at that time, and how there's things about Eazy-E on here, there's stuff about Half Pint on here, there's just they had so many influences pushing into them. Bob Marley, Beastie Boys are all called out on this, right? On this album.
These songs though, when you hear 40 Ounces of Freedom, Don't Push, you're singing aloud to them, man.
Oh my
How can you listen to it and not sing along? Oh my God, it's like every word, and then there's like his prison number is like 5447, but the song is 5446.
What's my number now?
But they say the wrong number on the album sleeve. It says 5446.
5446.
5446.
Yeah.
But when he's singing it, he says 47, I believe. I don't know. I was listening to that today. I was like, that's a different number. I don't know what's going on. But anyway.
Yeah, but I just
what an amazing record.
It is. It really is.
Really good.
And then the dog.
Lou Dog?
Whatever happened to Lou Dog?
I
well,
imagine
maybe
he
that's
passed
too.
away.
Yeah, dogs
I
don't
know
live.
if you would- I
Dogs
don't know
don't
if he
live to be
passed away
25 years old.
Prior to Brad, because
He's in a museum.
If you remember, like
He's in a
Brad died.
museum.
Brad died before Sublime. Like their self-titled album came out and like was the biggest hit.
Oh gosh,
you know,
dude.
so commercial success happened
And he didn't,
after he was
didn't,
dead.
He didn't see it.
No.
It's like sitting on the dock of the bay. I know that's throwing a curveball here, but he released, that was his biggest song, and he died before, it came out. You know,
Right.
Recorded it and died in a plane crash.
So I remember Sublime coming out, and
I like that
everybody was like, man, that would be a great show, wouldn't it be? It sure would be.
Yeah, that would be an amazing show.
Yeah.
I like this album better than the one
I do
the
too.
commercial album,
It was still a good one, though.
It still was.
So,
It's got
but,
Garden
yeah.
Grove and all that.
But
I
this
love
was
it.
this was by far.
They kept on going afterwards without him, right? And it was just like
they got Rome, I guess.
Sublime with Rome.
Sublime with Rome.
But they also did
so-
another thing that was called something else, something All Star, something Dub All
Dub All-
Stars.
Long,
Right.
Yeah,
Long Beach.
yes,
Dub
Long
All
Beach
Stars.
Dub All Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being very good. Am I remembering that right?
So you don't like Foo
believe you're
Fighters? You don't? I'm kidding.
But you know how he eased into that. Do I remember that correctly? That it was
Just
not that
checking,
good.
right?
Yeah.
See, I'm seeking
checking with you.
input.
Yeah.
Just use your illusion to me, looking for to add to my knowledge.
All right, man. Bring it home.
All right. So the day I heard this, I was in a car. I was in a band at a time. We're driving to a gig, and the bass player was like 24. I was 17, and when he played this, because I was talking about how I like stuff that's weirder, more random, and he's just kind of giving me a tour of different songs, and he goes, "Oh, I got it for you," and he played "My Ass Is on Fire" off this album. And I remember at one point in the song, literally just screaming, just like, "Oh my God!" just like out loud in the car, as 17-year-olds are apt to do.
Yes.
But this album was, if Injustice for All introduced orchestral influences to me, this introduced me to jazz. Because this album has a lot of syncopation, a lot of weird time signatures, a lot of just insanity. Like I described it earlier by saying, this album is like if Dream Theater had an older cool brother who liked to curb stomp football players while wearing a dress. It's like, and it had a huge impact on me because at this point it was
Somebody
like,
else had that brother too. I thought it was just me.
I thought it was a sister. Do you have a sister?
I did.
Oh yeah,
It was a brother. It was actually a brother, maybe.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
she wore the dress.
Well, okay. She curb. Never mind. We'll go there. But the thing is, like, what this did is all of a sudden it was like normal music was not okay anymore. Yeah. I had to seek out something that was different, that was odd, that was, something that could be considered good, but if it didn't have just some weird curveballs in it, if it didn't have something to just like tickle the back of my brain, it just
was
wasn't.
too vanilla.
Yeah, 100%. This
Couldn't do it
changed.
anymore.
And it changed that for my career too. If Use Your Illusions added this idea of wanting to hear more influences, this made it so that I have to constantly, not just in music, but in everything in my life, find something bizarre, something weird, something novel, something interesting. And it's
awesome,
and
man.
even now, you can listen to it. Like I popped it on just on the way over here. And I was like, this song is still just as good. It doesn't. It has legs. It does not get old. So,
dude, I listen to that, and they have that song. They go all over the map with that album. So
Yeah.
it's like jazz, crazy stuff. But they have a song called "Squeeze My Macaroni." Good Lord, man! If you play that, it is funky. Like I don't want to say Red Hot Chili Peppers, but it is.
It's-
and they don't tour with them. There's this feud between Red Hot Chili Peppers and Fade No More. That's another story. But "Squeeze My Macaroni," like your ass is on fire. That's your favorite song. "Squeeze My Macaroni" is my favorite song.
It's like maybe
It's like, I wanna, and it's like they're all over the place though.
it's maybe a 0.5% difference in my mind. They're both in, like, the whole album is just like, there's not a bad song on
Me
it.
and Rich became such good friends, and Eric was there that night too. When you played that song and your passion, that's the stuff that inspires me, man. When you heard that, I was like, I love hanging around people like that. People like you, that open-minded.
Yeah, just to get that excited about music, it's hard. It's hard to find
yes.
something that will get you going that much. So it's like, I very much appreciate that album for that.
Yeah, it's a great choice. Are we out of choices? Okay, look, we got to talk about honorable mentions, and mine would be I didn't
What?
prepare
You
you for
did
this.
not. I was about to say, what? Wait,
Yeah.
what?
No boy.
Okay, anyway, if you guys think while I'm talking, just don't listen to me. I'll just be using words. Smithereens. Matt Pinfield was talking about one time, and I started listening to them. And their first 2 albums, Smithereens, is amazing breakup music. If you're going through a bad relationship, dude, I can't remember. Smithereens has some huge hits that came out later. Girl Like You, bam.
Blood and Roses.
Blood and Roses. Good Lord, man. If you're going through some crap, listen to Smithereens. They came out in the 80s and 90s anyway. So that's my honorable mention. Boom, Smithereens.
Nice.
First 2 albums. And the third one, too.
Mine was this. My honorable mention was 40 Ounces of Freedom. So it's a cop-out, I guess. So.
No, dude.
Talk about it.
Cop-out, man.
No, well.
Pick it up.
Big it up.
Use the prop. Hold on. We've got the big prop in here.
Please, I
somewhere.
spent money on these
the big
things.
prop.
Can I put the sun over my head?
There you go.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
exactly.
Breaking the rules, man.
What a great song, 40 Ounces of Freedom. That's amazing song.
It's a fantastic album. I mean, Sublime for me was, I think I was an angsty teenager, and when I got into Sublime, which is a bit after the fact with 40 Ounces, I was like inundated with Sublime. They inundated me, I guess. And I loved the punk, I loved the ska, I loved everything about it. The chemistry was just absolutely fantastic. So that's
Good
about
choice,
all I
man.
have to say.
Excellent.
Yeah, amen.
Definitely.
I gave it an amen on that one. I'm like, amen.
I think.
I'm sorry, I should've warned
we
you,
had brought
man.
this. No, we had brought this up, and so I think everybody's had an honorable mention for Paul's Boutique. Beastie Boys,
One
Paul's
of my
Boutique,
favorite
and
albums,
it's just
dude.
because it is a buffet
And
of amazingness.
Yeah,
it's
And it,
just so
it
much going
failed
on.
when it came out. You know that when it came out, no,
It
what's that word I'm looking for?
so-
It tanked.
So
or
I heard like
yeah,
some
plummeted.
rumor that like they put on like some ridiculous riders about what they wanted to happen, like
Yeah.
coming off of License to Ill or whatever, that they put on like a whole bunch of ridiculousness onto their record label about what they wanted to do. And the record label was like, well, then we're not going to support a tour because you guys are stupid.
Oh, I didn't know that, man. That's
And
wild.
so, yeah.
But
I
they're
mean,
so ballsy, man. I mean, they had this
exactly.
huge, massive album, and they left Rick Rubin and said, "No, we're going to do something completely."
And most
We're
people
tired of-
wouldn't even remember.
Yeah.
Like, I would say that like the general public thinks it goes right from License to Ill to Check Your Head.
Right.
Like there's
Exactly.
like it just whoop, that's what happened, and that's not what happened.
What if they did License to Ill Part 2? They could have done that easy with Rick Rubin,
Yeah.
And
So,
they didn't. I mean,
but, like,
imagine having all those songs were massive back in the day.
but I mean,
Fight for Your Right to
there's-
Party, and then they just go left field into something completely different.
Right.
That's ballsy.
And they kept doing that. I mean, they were, just in general, having these 3 dudes from New York, who
Originally punk.
right, originally punk.
Yeah.
I think they've got family who's in the music industry and things like that. But I mean, their musicality and being able to infuse so much comedy into their music. I mean, Eggman, come on. I mean,
Eggman.
it's so ridiculous. It's a whole song about like people like
Eggman.
eggs, like hitting each other through eggs, hitting each other with
They
eggs.
start
and,
songs
like,
with them playing ping pong. It's like,
right.
doo-doo, doo-doo, and then the song starts. It's
Right, and like I said, the whole 5-piece chicken dinner thing,
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
just them playing like country music and they're
Yeah,
like,
and-
get the hell away from the barbecue,
it just starts out of nowhere. It's like
Right.
they're just rapping and then just all of a sudden banjo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
It's
oh
so
my
good.
gosh.
So I'll tell people sometimes that, I feel like if following a natural progression, if any rock group, even outside of rock, continues to make music and they continue to try to up their game, they will eventually land in jazz.
Good point, man. Yeah.
They'll eventually land either in some sort of free jazz noise thing or adding new scales to it or just something that just, for some reason, it always ends up there. Not always, but a lot of
I
times.
remember Sting doing that when he came out of the Police, right? And he went into his own thing or whatever. Branford
love Sting.
Marsalis is like became his his saxophonist. Is that how you say it?
We'll use it.
Sounds pretty
So,
perverted.
but like anyway, so you got,
Sax 'em off.
but all the Marsalis clan, those guys,
I love the Police, by the
Ellis
way.
and all those just tremendous, right, jazz influence coming out of New Orleans, and and he took that in, and so for the first couple of albums, that was where he started going, was completely taking it from the ska punk, kind of thing or whatever, and being like, oh, I do jazz music now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Man. That's
who
true,
I
what you
am.
said. Yeah,
Right.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you got a?
My honorable mention, I think I throw in Chemical Brothers' Setting Sun.
Ooh, I love that album, dude.
The one they did with
Yes.
Oasis, or the guys from Oasis, I don't know if it's both of them. But That one I throw in there because I listen to a lot of EDM now. But probably most of what I listen to is probably electronic in some way. Sure, it's not just trance, but it's like there's a lot more you can do now, right? And so that really kind of introduced me into that world. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, the Blade soundtrack came out, and then
I remember
like,
that.
Yes.
It's like
absolutely.
I was like, this stuff hits like metal, It's like this is hitting, And so that song just insanely good song.
Dude, do you remember when MTV had a show called Amp? I don't know if you remember, but it was in the 90s, and that's what they played was like, I don't know, EDM. Like, I always think of like Prodigy and Chemical Brothers.
Right, Crystal Method.
They put a soundtrack out, and there's an orange soundtrack.
Weekend was a great album. That was a really good album.
What do you think about Daft Punk? I used to love them too.
Oh, certainly.
Harder, Better,
Yes,
Faster,
dude.
Stronger,
Yeah.
man. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
that's so good.
And Paul Oakenfold. See, I know a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, whatever, man.
got it.
Honestly, Daft Punk was another one I almost threw on there because if you follow like the EDM world at all, like I feel like it all starts with Daft Punk these days. It's like it just translates into so much of it. So much of it's just percolated from Daft Punk.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Guys, I appreciate you being here. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I got my good friends here. Eric is the man, dude. He's a super nice guy. Kiefer's all right.
Right?
I'm just kidding.
Kiefer filled a chair.
No, dude, I'm really glad you're here, man. I love talking to you every day about music. You too, man. And Rich.
No, I'm on the naughty list for the Foo Fighters thing. I get it.
No, dude. Rich is like, you're like the big brother to me, man. It's cool.
Save you
Like,
by
yeah.
throwing 311 under the bus.
It's good. It's good.
I was
Now,
like-
who do you hate that's awesome?
How do you hate that's awesome?
Milli Vanilli?
You don't like Milli Vanilli, dude?
We're done.
Anyway, this is a good episode.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Scott.
All right. Woo! Liquid Death water, non-alcoholic beer.
Yay!
Like this is the most sober interview we've had. Yeah. We're about to get chocolate wasted after
Cheers.
this. Cheers, man. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
All right.